Let's raise the next big question. Is this election of the Pope shrouded in too much secrecy? Is there much the Catholic Church has to answer for? Joining me now, John Dayal, senior journalist and activist from Bhubaneswar. In the studios, Father Dominic Emmanuel, Director Communication at the Delhi Catholic Archdiocese. Father, the cardinals live in seclusion. The entire process of electing a new pope takes place in seclusion, and now all these controversies are coming about, allegations of sexual harassment, allegations of child abuse. None of this can do the church any good at the moment. Has the time come for the church to be a little bit more transparent about what is going on within the cloistered walls of the Vatican?
I think the church is quite transparent, and I think this is one of the organizations, religious organization, which is one of the most transparent, I would say, in the world. And while the voting takes place in secret, even when I go to vote, I'm not telling the whole world who I am voting for. When I vote, I do it secretly and privately. So similarly, here's while voting is done privately, there is enough check and balance to see that there is no hanky-panky going on there.
But the fact is, sir, the resignation of Archbishop Keith O'Brien over allegations of alleged behavior inappropriate with other priests, allegations of child abuse. These are not the first such controversies surrounding sexual abuse that have affected the church. None of these seem to come out at the moment. The church doesn't seem to want to reveal the darker side.
But Rajdeep, there's a contradiction. How did it come out? It is because they are open and there is a freedom for things to come out. That's why these have come out in public.
It has come out because the media has exposed it. Let's be honest. It's come out through constant media exposure. Otherwise, the church has this complete secrecy in an age where one would expect these things to be at least dealt with by the church in a much more open manner. We still don't even know for sure what is the exact reason that the Pope has resigned.
No. I don't think that anybody should throw any doubt on what the Pope has said. Pope is an 85, and in fact in April he would be 86, and he is literally feeling weak. And already for the last 2.5 years he started using wheelchair. Already in 2009, when he went to visit the grave of the former Pope Celestine, Saint Celestine, who had actually abdicated his seat, he put his thing there on the grave, indicating already that he might be taking a similar step.
So you're saying there are no controversies over the manner in which he has chosen to retire at this moment. But John Dayal, do you still believe that his time has come for the church to be much more open about exactly what is going on behind the closed walls of the Vatican?
I think it's possibly one of the most transparent elections in any community or any country. It's far more transparent than election in India or in the US, for instance, where communities and states continue to make mistakes. There are 117 people who have to choose their leader. They know everything there. The process is so detailed. The voting is in such openness that there can be absolutely no double voting. There can be no crooked voting. There cannot be no sleet of hand till as such time that the people agree that one of them is the chosen leader by the Holy Spirit. So then it is concluding. So what I'm trying to say is the election is entirely transparent to the people who are electing. For us, the sign is when the results come. The elections are over in India and the results come 3 weeks later.
My point is,
election results are available.
Today some Italian newspapers are saying that there is ineptitude, there are sexual scandals that have led to the stepping down of Pope Benedict XVI. Should the Pope come out openly and tell us exactly where he stands on this or not? When a cardinal who is, Britain's only cardinal elector resigns on alleged charges of behaving inappropriately, do you believe we need to know much more about this or not?
Certainly. Knowledge will lead to fidelity, it will lead to faith formation. I met the Pope in October and he was absolutely frail. I was not surprised when he resigned. In fact, my admiration for him grew up because that took courage. That's one. Second is, the Pope has made it clear over the last few years, he is for zero tolerance on sex abuse. And the way in which he immediately accepted the resignation of O'Brien is a signal which he has given more than once, and O'Brien is not guilty. He is only suspected. But the fact that the Pope says there's going to be no, and this is just days before his resignation is going to be final, I think that's a very, very strong issue. There's a very strong signal. And lastly, in the future, I think we will have a far more transparent church, not transparency by way of coming out and voting in front of a television camera,
Yes.
but transparency in a more participatory church. And that is itself a part of the Second Vatican evolution of the church. So there is,
But-
we are not, those of us who observe the church, who are faithful, we are seeing it as a great positive development forward. We do not see controversies as exposures.
Right.
We see them as cleansing.
You see it as a process of cleansing, but at the same time, Father Emmanuel, there's also a demand from certain activists to stop other cardinals who are tainted by sex scandals, such as the US Cardinal Roger Mahony, from taking part in the election. It appears at the moment that there is this particular, I come back to a darker side. Is the church willing to confront its darker side or not?
But that's what is being proved in the resignation of Archbishop Keith O'Brien. And if anybody who feels that he is responsible for that, he will automatically come forward and resign, as is the case of Cardinal Keith O'Brien. And I think, therefore,
You don't think that the affairs of the church need to be much more open? That this all shouldn't come out through media exposure. The church itself needs to go through some kind of a self-cleansing process, possibly.
And that's what, as John was saying, Pope Benedict XVI has made it very clear that there is absolute zero tolerance. And in India itself, the Bishops' Conference, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of India, has drawn up a clear guideline for those who are sexually abusing, I mean priests who are sexually abusing. So there is a clear...
you accept there is a problem there? Do you accept, or is the church living in denial?
No, actually there are problems. That's why these guidelines are being prepared, and they're coming forward and accepting that there is a problem. And that has been open.
So you're saying there is an acceptance that there is a problem at the moment. Given the John Dayal, how much will this affect the credibility of the papacy itself? Or do you believe it will enhance the stature of the papacy if the Pope confronts the community and indeed his followers with these allegations and tries to go through this process of cleansing?
Man does not like dictatorships. The cleansing operation, the openness of Benedict, he was a tough pope, he was a tough cardinal. The way he has handled the last couple of years, I must say, has added to the strength of the papacy, to almost, if I may use a phrase, to the glamour of the papacy. I can predict that the laity, the religious, the congregations of the Roman Catholic Church are going to see in the new pope a evangelist pope, a activist pope, a pope who's bothered about taking the church deep into the 21st century and much beyond. And please remember, this is a religious election. It is not a diplomatic or a democratic election. It's a religious. We must not diminish the role of the Holy Spirit, the role of God's own purpose for this church. And I think, let's leave something to God. I think we are looking forward to a tremendous role that the church and we can play in the life of the people of the world, and particularly in the life of people of India.
Okay,
and nobody has actually denied, even the church, the Pope himself has never denied that there is problem in the church. I mean, the world itself has a lot of problems, and the church is affected by the problems in the world. So the Pope and the church accepts that there are many challenges that the church is facing, and that's why there is going to be a lot of thinking and
so you see a churning taking place already within the church at the moment.
Yes, and the amount of writings that are...
Of course, there's a lot of churning taking place.
Okay.
Not since the second... If I may say something,
yes, quickly.
Not since the Second Vatican, long years ago, not since the Second Vatican has churning taken place. And the Second Vatican, this is almost an impromptu situation of a Second Vatican. A new guidelines are being laid, a new cleansing is taking place. We are going to see a church the stronger for this trial.
Okay. On that note, Father Dominic Emmanuel and John Dayal, appreciate your joining us here on India at Night.